Hi, I'm Dave Romerman. I'm a bankruptcy and foreclosure defense attorney in New York City and the founder of Romerman Law. In this video, I'm going to spell out some of the provisions in the new coronavirus stimulus bill, particularly as they pertain to the rebate portion of the bill. So I've thought for years that the best attorneys really only offer two things: peace of mind and translation. Peace of mind means I've got somebody, my lawyer's on it, and translation means to and from legalese and layman's terms. This video will translate a complex statute into a few simple, understandable points. Now, I haven't seen my office in Lower Manhattan in a couple of weeks. I'm here at home in Queens, my backyard with my wife and our two cats. I've posted some information recently on Facebook about coronavirus and the new bill, and I've gotten pretty good feedback so far. With that in mind, I thought I'd shoot a video to help translate the complexities of the new coronavirus stimulus bill. Everyone's asking, how much will I get? Unfortunately, I've seen some incorrect info out there, so I thought I'd be helpful and clarify the rebate portion of it here in this video. So a few nights ago, I sat down, I read that part of the bill. It's section 2201, along with the several Internal Revenue Code provisions, the IRC provisions that go along that 2201 references. So I will give you the details here in the video, but everything is also included below in the text, including a calculator to help you figure out the exact amount that you should expect to receive. Of course, don't consider this legal or financial advice, just a guide to give you some idea what to expect. So the disclaimers aside, the bill provides that every eligible individual will receive $1,200, with married couples getting $2,400 combined. Jointly. So an eligible individual is basically anyone who is not a non-resident alien, is not a trust or an estate, and is not a dependent already claimed on someone else's taxes. There are also some limits for people in higher income brackets, which I'll get to in a minute. Additionally, you get $500 for every qualifying child. Now, I know a lot of you are already familiar with the concept of a qualifying child, but it may be a little bit different than what you are used to, especially compared to claiming qualifying children as dependents. So I'll lay out the details of that here in a minute as well. Before we get to the income limits and who is a qualifying child, let's take a quick look at the basic math. In short, you take $1,200 for yourself or $1,200 for you and your spouse if you're a married couple, and you add $500 for every child that's considered qualifying. You can see more on that on the text below. If you want a nice calculator, check out the link below. Full disclosure, my wife is the one who coded that for her employer, CNBC. But appreciation of her aside, it really is a great calculator, and it's gotten well over 500,000 views in just a couple days, so check it out. So, what are the income limits that reduce the rebate? As to those limits, they are $150,000 or less for married couples. If you make more than $150,000, you start seeing the $2,400 rebate reduced, plus the child amount. It's $112,500 for people who filed as head of household, and $75,000 for everyone else, meaning mainly single people. If you made above those limits, your rebate is reduced. The way to determine that is take what you made, subtract those threshold limits, the numbers I just mentioned, and then reduce the rebate by 5% of the difference. In plain English, that means you figure out how much you were over, subtract them out and get the difference, find 5% of that, and then subtract that out from your rebate amount to reduce it. So as an example, we have a single person, no children, makes $85,000. She makes $10,000 over that $75,000 threshold, and so thus she'd be reducing her payout by 5% of that $10,000. For those of you who don't love math, 5% of $10,000 is $500. Thus, her $1,200 rebate is reduced by $500, meaning she should expect a $700 payment. That's pretty straightforward, as is the concept of $500 for every child. However, knowing who is a qualifying child is trickier, and it's one big reason I made this video. So now let me go through the definition of qualifying child. The rules here are like the ones used in determining your child tax credit for those of you who happen to be familiar with it. The test consists of 6 factors. First is the age test. Anyone under 17 qualifies as meeting the age requirements, regardless of the other age-related tests found in the IRC. I'll refer to those, I'll get to those soon. But anyone under 17. The relationship test. A qualifying child must have a certain relationship to the person claiming them as a dependent child. So it doesn't just mean your child. The child can be your son, daughter, your child, but it means your stepchild, your adopted child, your foster child, or a descendant of any of those people, meaning your grandchildren. Also, anyone who is your brother, sister, half-brother or sister, stepbrother or sister, or a descendant of any of them, meaning a niece or a nephew, counts too. So essentially it means any of your siblings, any of your children in any form, and any of the descendants of your siblings or children, your grandchildren and your nieces and nephews. Third is the residence test. The person must have lived with you for more than half the tax year for which you're claiming credit. Exceptions, there's a lot of exceptions to this one, but it could be someone who was born during the year, someone who dies during the year, the child, someone who's absent from home for school, vacation, business, medical care, etc. This is generally pretty easy that they live with you for more than half of the year, but if there are questions, you should consult a tax professional to determine whether or not someone qualifies. Fourth test is the dependent test. The person must be your child, sibling, niece or nephew or grandchild. That's in the separate section of the IRC that refers to this. And normally the provision also says that the person has to be a dependent, has to be under 19 or under 24 and a full-time student for at least 5 months out of the year. Or also, as an exception to the age rule, someone who is permanently and totally disabled. Adults with disabilities can be claimed as dependent children. That's the normal test. It doesn't control here. I've seen a lot of confusion on that. The under 17 provision leads here and is the test as to whether somebody's a dependent. So they would have to be under 17. Unfortunately, for people who claim dependent adults with disabilities, they don't meet the test. Finally, they cannot have filed as married with another filer. Fifth is the support test. The person must have not provided over half of their own financial support during the tax year, kind of a further test as to whether or not they're truly independent. And then finally, there's a citizenship test, which basically says the person claimed must be a U.S. citizen, a U.S. national, American Samoan, or from the Northern Mariana Islands, or a U.S. resident alien. So if you remember the eligible person test requirements, no non-resident aliens qualify for the refund, much the same, no non-resident aliens qualify as eligible children for the rebate credit. Okay, so the information in this video is also available on this page below because it was a lot of info in a video and I know most of you weren't taking notes. That's fine. At Romerman Law, we pride ourselves on providing real solutions for real people. So hopefully this page lets a lot of you know just what to expect with this rebate, and it lets you plan for the future a little bit in hard times. As a final thought, to all the people out there on the front lines, the doctors, the nurses, the first responders, the police and firefighters, all the delivery people, and all the others helping keep us up and running, I just want to thank you. I want to say bless you. And, you know, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate what you guys are out there doing, putting yourselves at risk for us. To everyone on Team Human, stay safe, stay healthy. Salute.